10 years of Ethereum, Linea Tokenomics, Solana updates, so much DeFi spice, and more. Let's get started. As a matter of fact, I'm having a bit of a party myself with this light acting up. For now, we'll just call it a glorious disco ball. Jokes aside, as of July 30th, 2015, the Ethereum blockchain was born, and with that first transaction, the future of finance, technology, and internet has never been the same. It brought a new era of decentralization, ownership, trust, immutability, and most importantly, programmability. However, Vitalik and friends have had a very nice 1-hour video about all of these things and more. If you wish to check it out, be my guest. But for the more practical of us who just want to capitalize on potential opportunity, this is very, very time sensitive. You only have 1 day, or by the time you're watching this video, maybe only a couple hours to actually mint this anniversary NFT on Ethereum mainnet. Luckily, GUI is still not too high. You can probably get this for between 50 cents to $1.5. Staying in Ethereum ecosystem, we have some amazing updates from Linea. Finally, tokenomics are here and a whole load of updates. Starting with the fact that there's going to be a first layer 2 in Linea to burn ETH at a protocol level. This means that when proof of work became proof of stake as a main consensus mechanism for Ethereum, there's already been a huge deflationary pressure for the price. ETH actually became deflationary in September 2022. So this further exemplifies their commitment to sustainability. 20% of all fees will be burned on a protocol level. Also, they're adopting the mode and blast approach and other layer 2s that are simply going to be generating yield in simply bridged assets. So assets on the Linea network will now generate you DeFi rewards. We'll talk a little bit more about tokenomics later. The last important update is that there's going to be a fund management by Ethereum native stewards. So the likes of Consensus, ENS, Eigenlabs, and a couple others, they will be in charge of managing a part of the Ethereum treasury. Well, Linea treasury. And finally, some numbers. With over $100 billion in ETH staked and over $25 trillion in transaction volume, Ethereum is still king of DeFi, and total value locked and transactions definitely account to these numbers. There is also a shorter version of this post composed by Declan Fox, one of the main builders behind Linea, which I will also leave alongside all the links that are always in the first link of the description of every video. Now, regarding Linea tokenomics, we have some very TLDR style here, but we can go a little bit more in depth. So first of all, 85% is going to ecosystem. However, only 10% of this is going to early contributors. 75% is being managed by the Ethereum or Linea consortium. There's also a 50% going to consensus treasury, but this has a 5-year lockup period, so it shouldn't affect the price too much. As of this 10%, 9% of the token supply is going to be airdropped and fully unlocked at token generation event, and it is going to be eligibility for various criteria such as LXP, on-chain metrics that will recognize authentic usage and meaningful ecosystem participation. Of course, at the moment, there is no checker and nothing is still live to be claimed, so please be careful about all the sites that are trying to tell you that the claim is live or anything. Always follow, of course, official socials. As for the ecosystem fund, the 75% that is being managed by the Linea consortium, they will have two phases, ecosystem activation and long-term alignment. In this ecosystem activation, we can expect that there's going to be a sizable amount of capital being fueled into the Linea projects. So maybe if you're still bullish on Linea, you should keep an eye out on which projects are going to be receiving which kind of allocations during this ecosystem activation page. For the consensus treasury, we've already mentioned this has a long lockup period, so it should not affect the price too much. And circulating supply at TG is going to be approximately 22% of the token supply. There will also be a dual burn mechanism on Linea, so all the gas fees are going to be spent to burn either ETH or Linea tokens in the ratio of 20% for burning ETH and 80% for burning Linea tokens. And finally, for governance structure, there's going to be no stakeholder governance in Linea ecosystem. Basically, it's going to be governed by a consortium, Linea consortium, and at the moment, there will be any plans to have any voting power by holding the Linea token. As it tends to happen, there's already some confusion regarding the tokenomics and exact percentages, so let's clear everything up. 10% that is going to early contributors is being split up in mostly LXP, so the voyage campaigns of last 2 years, and people who have participated in LXPL, so liquidity providing campaigns. That part is going in the 75% of the ecosystem fund that the consortium will decide on in a future date. And if circulating supply is 22%, why is airdrop just 10%? The remaining 12% is going for early days liquidity, as well as time-sensitive builder grants, partnerships, and other initiatives that will be pursued by the Linea consortium. All right, let's move into Sonic. After a really disastrous airdrop claim, there's been a huge community outrage, and they did make a very, very important change. So a few days from now, Season 1 Sonic Airdrop will receive a major expansion, allowing everyone who had at least 5 Sonic minimum claim to actually get their airdrop. There is additional 9 million tokens allocated to reward more users, and there's also going to be something for people who had Sonic shards, and the snapshot for this was June 18th. Using this methodology, there should be more than 100,000 wallets that are going to be included in this update. Of course, you always have to verify all information on multiple sources, and of course, the X accounts of both Assistant Sonic and Sonic Labs have reposted this information. If you want to be on top of the game, you really need to be around people who live and breathe crypto, and one such community is our Discord, where we discuss all of these things in real time, and it gives you a huge edge when you have to navigate the markets and react very, very quickly. For example, the time-sensitive information is always going to be on our announcements tab, and here you will find all the most relevant information that will help you on the crypto journey. If this is something you want to be a part of, all you have to do is check the subscriptions tab, which is always in the first link of the description of every video. And here you will find the monthly, yearly plans, or an airdrop tracking application to help you keep organized. And for everyone who wants to participate in the yield farming NFT, it's generating you between 5 to 10% every single month. We've just had a payout for the last month, and we're getting back on track to get back to 10% every single month. Now, moving into Solana ecosystem, we have Jupiter Portfolio live, and this might be one of the most convenient trackers for Solana ecosystem in general. You can see all of your positions, all of your even claimable rewards for these positions, as well as a activity tab, which will help you navigate through all the stuff that you've been doing over the last weeks and months. You can also go in the claimables tab here, and it will port you directly to the platform where you have actually generated some rewards on your positions. And another Solana update is coming in the form of the Vault on Solana. It's a liquid stake token, and if you've staked with them, you will maybe be eligible for the V airdrop, or maybe if you've been farming Sanctum a while ago, you could also be eligible because you may have had one of those Vaulty pets, which was from this particular project. Make sure to go through official channels and check if you're eligible for the airdrop. Next, 2 quick perpetual updates. Avantis is doing its airdrop in August, and we have just had an announcement for Avantis Foundation. For Drift, there is 100,000 Wallet Connect tokens that are going to be distributed to Drift power stakers. So if you're staking Drift tokens, make sure to check your wallets. Maybe you have a surprise waiting for you. And finally, before we jump into yield, we have news from Hyperlane. The pre-claims for Season 2 are live as of July 28th. You have 2 weeks to click your buttons, and then after 2 weeks, you will actually have to claim your token allocations. As for yield, we have a very, very nice 2-in-1 with Yield Optimizer and Euler. So we've been getting a question of where do we park our stables, and this could be one of a more juicy, lucrative opportunities because you're not only generating nice yield, but you're also farming potential airdrop in the Yield Optimizer. Now, this strategy on Euler, of course, involves a little bit of risk. By a little bit, I mean a lot, because you have to expose yourself not only to 2 different smart contract risks, but also a possibility of these stablecoins depegging. Even though the max ROE is going to be 82.95%, it does include multipliers, which is up to 10x, which means that they're doing looping strategies to secure this huge APR. So you're borrowing at a rate of 7% and your supply APY is 14%, but on a 10x leverage, basically. As for SUI, Momentum is still the leader for both yield and airdrops. As mentioned in the last video, there's $185,000 in the prize pool for participating in their Galaxy campaign, but much more importantly, we have a lot of liquidity positions that we can talk about here. So regarding the APRs, we have some ridiculous numbers for low fee again, but the three pairs that we should focus on the more risky side of things is low fee, Send, and HEDAL. So these have been doing relatively well over the last couple of weeks, but they always vary very differently in liquidity when it comes to volumes and fees generated. However, we need to look at their correlation in the 1 month and the 7-month department. So of course, in the 1 month, they will all be more or less correlated because SUI moves alongside them roughly in the same manner. However, on the weekly, it is looking very, very shaky. So you just need to decide how much impermanent loss are you willing to stomach. We are only looking at SUI plus Send, SUI plus Lofi, or SUI plus HEDAL in this regard. You also need to take a look at the individual token prices performances because HEDAL is down about 20% in just a last couple of days. And for everyone who doesn't want to take these risks with borderline meme coins, you also have a SUI USDC pairing. But instead of taking the USDC route, you can consider taking on a little more risk with this AUSD that we mentioned in the last video, which is offering about 560% APR at current prices. And alternatively, you can also go with a little more established projects such as VoloSui. VoloSui USDC pairing is currently offering also 500% APR as of making this video. Finally, if you just want a little more crypto exposure, you can go with LBTC SUI, and this one is also doing about 400% APR with more or less correlated pairing on the monthly and on yearly. On the weekly, decent, but not the best. One important disclaimer is to remember that this is not a native Bitcoin on the Bitcoin network. This is a SUI version on the SUI network, so this also carries a certain amount of risk if it depegs from the original. And that is a wrap. All the topics for today. If you like the content, make sure to like and subscribe, bell notifications on. Any questions, comments, I'm waiting for you in the comment section below and in our Discord. As always, thanks for watching. Till next time, have an amazing day.